Hi, everybody. I'm super happy to be in front of you because I rarely ever get the chance to see normal people that are not within the Google bubble. So I'm actually quite happy that I can dance in front of you, go on a rant about how measurement and attribution is one of the most important things that I have in my life that you should care about, that most people, though, are very afraid of. And they're kind of scared that it's a complex thing that is annoying to deal with. And yeah, it's basically the whole discussion around how math is important, but it's not really something everyone wants to deal with. I'm a huge fan of not annoying you to death. If I do, please tell me. The reason why I'm saying this is I need to run over there, get my clicker real quick. Here we go. Like a very bad magician, I want to give away my takeaways for the next 20 to 25 minutes right away, so you can note them down and spend the rest of the talk just listening to me going out on a rant or thinking about smart questions. The first thing I want you to take away from this talk is please, please, please make sure whatever you're doing, whatever you're trying to sell, whatever you're trying to accomplish on the internet, make use of this unique opportunity to measure everything. Right? That old saying that like 50% of your marketing spend is wasted, but you don't know which 50% it is, that's not true anymore. Right? We overcame that. And still, like Ian said, I was working with over 500 companies now. Still, a lot of these really big brands don't measure stuff, and I don't get it. Right? Please don't be one of these companies. It's just not necessary anymore. Please don't waste your money, right? And I'm not saying like only measure the transaction. Measure stuff in between. Measure everything that you think is worthy measuring. That's my first part. And it sounds very intuitive, but believe me, there's enough big brands out there that don't really care about that. The second part is attribution. Attribution is probably the hype topic within digital marketing for the last, I think, 1.5 years. It was seen as something that you would need a PhD for. That's why I'm doing a PhD right now. It's actually a lot simpler than I thought it would be, and it's not a huge thing. So within the AdWords interface, within the AdWords channel, it takes you literally 1.5 minutes to switch to a better attribution model, in the end giving you better data. It's so simple. You just go to, like you can now just down right now, you can go to Tools, Conversions, look at the conversion actions, click into the conversion action, and just switch it. You didn't, like, that's it. Like my small brother who's 14 did it from my account. Right? That's a level of simplicity that attribution basically gives you right now within the Google world. And we're working on like this is within the search channel only, but we're working on a solution which you've probably heard of, Google Attribution, that is giving you the opportunity to do cross-channel, cross-device, cross pretty much everything attribution, like, yeah, beginning of next year. Like, that's coming out. If you watch the keynote on Google Marketing Next, flip the switch to the minute 32 and watch for 6 minutes. That's where you learn all about it. I'll give you the quick run-through later on. So basic takeaway, please switch away from last click. Right? It sounds like a very nerdy thing, but please just do it, right? And if you do that, go for either a data-driven model, which is always the best opportunity, the best option that you can have. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later on. And if you don't, like, go for something like time decay or position-based, right? But just avoid everything that's single touch. So first and last click are dead. If you stick with them, your company is very likely to go out of business if you're depending on online marketing, right? And it sounds like a harsh statement, but it is true, and I've seen it happening. The last thing is automation. Being German, automation scares me because it's about a black box and something else, that big brain in the cloud making decisions for me. After having seen what it does to accounts and what it does to companies, driving down their CPA, driving up their conversion numbers, I'm a little less scared. Yeah? I'm actually quite confident it does its job. It works super well, to be honest. And we're proving it ongoing. Why am I highlighting automation in the same line as I'm mentioning attribution? The reason for that is if you do measurement, that's fine, that's great. If you do attribution properly, that's perfect. But without taking all of this newly attributed data and acting on it, right? Putting your money behind these new insights that you're getting, it's basically worthless. Right? You can measure all you want, you can attribute all you want. If you're not making different decisions based on this new data, might as well just stick your finger in the air and do guessing. That's fine. You can basically save all the work that you're doing up here. Right? So measurement, attribution, and action always go hand in hand. Right? So measure first, attribute then, and then act on it. That's a rundown. You can go for coffee now. Just kidding. Let's see how this works. I want to give you the opportunity to ask me pretty much every question. I'm a huge Reddit user. The Ask Me Anything feature is something I hold dearly. If you go to this URL, you'll find a form where you can put in your name, put in your email address, and put in the dirty, hard questions that you're afraid to ask in front of an audience. Right? Feel free to ask them here. I won't call you out. There's no such thing as dumb questions. Any other questions that you might have, just shout it in. I'm used to that, and I like that. Right? The first thing I want to talk about is myth busting. That's actually the biggest question and the biggest thing I'm talking about pretty much at every talk. Attribution and the whole hype around attribution is nothing new. We're doing attribution, if you knew it or not, for the last 15 years, basically since AdWords started, basically since all of digital marketing started, because we were using that last click model, which is a form of attribution. Right? We were assuming that the last touch point was the touch point that in the end drove the buying decision. That's what we did. And it served us well, especially as Google, because search is very often a very late touch point. Right? So we built our success basically on that. For the most part, because we couldn't do it any other way. Right? It's very hard to measure upper funnel. But this attribution thing is not a hype topic. It's here to stay because it was there always since the beginning of digital marketing. So basically, switching to a non-last click model, which could be one of these models I mentioned earlier, is nothing that is like a new stunt or anything. It's just something that is the next step in the evolution of attribution. Why is that important? Why is that? What's the bigger picture around attribution? Why should we do this stuff in the first place? It's perceived complicated. But it's necessary in the end. And I want to tell you why it's necessary. I'm pretty sure every one of you is like, yes, I've seen this before. Who hasn't seen this before? No one raises their hand. You have seen it. OK, perfect. You know how people make decisions, right? How do you make a proper decision? First of all, you need to know that you need to make a decision, right? I want to see something, and it starts a thought process. So first of all, I have to see something. I have to become aware of something. Then I have to develop an interest, think about it, if I want to do it or not. And then I make a decision, and I need a decision-making helper. And then I actually do something. So this is basically how human brains develop over the last millions of years to do decision-making. And this is not something we can fight with. This is something that's here to stay. This is how human brains work, full stop. You can start to argue with me, but I'll win, right? Why are we not reflecting this? The best practice would be to align your marketing actions with the way human brains make decisions. That would make sense, right? Why are we not doing this? What we do is we focus solely on action. We say buy now, and we do branded search ads, and we do all the stuff that we call performance marketing. And everything brand is basically, please stay away from me because you're wasting my money, right? Why are we so obsessed with that whole action stuff? And why are we just doing flighted upper funnel campaigns or tests upper funnel? Even though we know that human brains make decisions in a different way. There's a mismatch between what we know and what we do, right? And that makes me angry. The reason for that is actually pretty simple. The reason for that is that the lower funnel stuff, that last interaction, that was super easy to measure. Right? We just hand over a cookie and that's it. So attribution to the last touch point is actually quite simple. Right? It was there from the beginning. Everything upper funnel is incredibly hard. Right? tying a view on a video or like an affiliate article to a conversion in the end, it's a hard stunt. Yeah? You need experts to do that. That's why we don't do that. And like we all know that what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. Right? That's where our obsession with that lower funnel marketing comes from. What does this result in? If you take even one more step back, the internet is built on ads. I think we can all agree on that. Right? I pay $50 for my Guardian like yearly subscription. That's the only thing I pay for. I pay for Spotify, that's fine. But I never pay for anything else, right? I just go to Google and just Google stuff. I don't expect that they'll send me a bill afterwards. Even though I'm using their service, they're doing work behind the scenes, they pay my salary. Right? No one pays on the internet. So the internet basically is built on that whole ads ecosystem. And that whole ads ecosystem is focused on the last click. So eventually, what it does, it basically turns the internet in a very not nice place. It turns the internet into a place where there's buy now signs everywhere that almost harass you, and it makes you, like, please, like, install an ad blocker. Right? It's not a pleasant experience for the most part. So basically, by our obsession with that lower funnel action marketing, we turned the internet into a crappy place no one wants to really use, and they install ad blockers, which is then really bad for your businesses because you can't really show ads to these people. Right? So please stop doing that. Do proper attribution. Talk with these experts and talk with us so we can figure out how your customer journey actually works, how people use your service, how they become aware of what you're doing, then influence their decision-making, and then eventually give them an ad that says, hey, don't you want to buy now? Like, it's kind of time. You knew it already, but like, I'll give you the last nudge. And then it's not a harassing experience anymore. Then it's a pleasant guiding me through my decision-making process. And you'll see that in the numbers, right? The guys we were working with that really embraced this new mindset, they see it in their revenue numbers. So it's not something where like, yeah, please believe me, like you should do it, but like I don't have any proof. I have, like, there's enough proof. Go to Think with Google, read through the blog, read through these case studies. There's enough of them, right? So that's the sole message. This is how last click attribution turned the internet into that horrible place that it sometimes is, that annoys you to hell. Chapter 2, this all sounds nice, but how do I make money with it? Because eventually you want to do that. That's why you're here. First of all, please acknowledge that this is how human brains work and you can't fight with it. Right? That's the first step, acknowledging that this is what's happening. Right? And that sounds very intuitive, but as I said, for the last 15 years, we did a different thing. We just focused on action. So it's actually, I think it's fair for me to say that right now. The next thing is find out how big your challenge around attribution is. And this is where Analytics 360 and the experts from the Search Lab actually come in, because they can help you, steer you through that journey of finding out how does my consumer journey actually look like? And believe me, there's a lot of misconceptions within your companies, right? Like knowing this from actually working with a lot of companies that assume that people use their service in a certain way while that's not actually what happens. Do you know that picture of a crossroad and people walking over the lawn? This is what's happening every day on your websites. Right? People use your service in a totally different way that you would anticipate they do, or that your designers designed it for. The most important numbers that you should look out for are basically these two. Let me explain it to you real quick. So this one here is 75%. What does it say? It tells you that a lot of people move between devices until they actually make a purchase. Right? That is that mobile story that we are saying for the last 3 years or even more. We have a joke within Google that we say that every year is the year of mobile. Yeah, that's going to be there for a while. So please acknowledge that this is happening. And you can ask these experts or even look into your own AdWords accounts and look into tools, attribution, cross-device measurement, or like the cross-device reports, and see in how many cases for your own business does this happen for me? On average, it's 75%. So eventually, you need to go into that mobile advertising journey, right? The second point is the touch points. How many touch points does a customer have with my company, my business, before he or she actually converts? How often do we interact, right? For the last 15 years, repeating myself, we were assuming that's only one touch point. It's the last touch point. On average, it's 5. So we neglected that 80% of the data that was there actually had an impact. Right? We focused on 20% of decision making. Would you feel comfortable doing an investment decision on 20% of the available data? No one would. Right? So please check how long your path length is. And you can do this within analytics, and you can do it within AdWords. Analytics showing you the cross-channel movements, and AdWords showing you the intra-channel search steps. And if this number for you, the path length number, is longer than 1.00, like 1.01 is already bigger than 1.00, then you should talk to these people. Talk to us. Talk to anyone who knows their way around attribution, because you're missing out on data that is already available to you. You're basically ditching all this data. That's why these numbers are incredibly important. So this is how you find out how big your attribution problem is, by the way. Right? Looking at these two numbers, that's a good estimate. I believe a lot of you have seen these slides before. For me, it's just a reinforcement on why last click is not an option anymore. Right? I'll run through them very quickly. These search bars represent interactions with a search campaign or with a customer journey. Right? I put in great tech gifts, which is like, in the end, advertising the Nexus 9 tablet, which is the best tablet on the market. So basically, what we did for the last 15 years is we neglected that there was some interaction here, and we gave all the credit to the last one. Obviously, like that's not how it works. People are looking for other stuff, right? This is just reinforcing what I just said. What happened is that if you look, these are very ugly slides, by the way. I'm very good at building ugly slides. If you look at the consumer journey and where you could find out that maximum that you're optimizing on, right? If you're working with AdWords and you're trying to optimize your account, this is what you're doing every day. What you're trying to do is you try to find this maximum where you have the biggest lever, where you get the biggest bang for your buck, right? That's what you want. You want to increase your ROI. If you're only going after the last click, what you do is you might be optimizing for a local maximum, neglecting that here, you might have a bigger lever. You might get even more bangs for your buck if you interact with the customer earlier in his journey. But by neglecting that there's interactions like in front here, you're basically ditching all this data and you're only optimizing for this. And what we see is that if you were optimizing your account for 3 months, it's pretty hard to get a better CPA. All the improvements might be incremental or might be due to chance, basically, right? So this is incredibly important to know that if you're using last click as an attribution model, it's basically not showing you the full picture. So what it does, it's basically like driving on the highway with like 1.5 eyes closed. Like you could see like the reality is happening around you, but you're basically neglecting that it's there. And what it does is basically it's very like costly for you because the opportunity cost is huge. You might miss out on a lot of potential. Right? You might be able to invest your money a lot smarter than you right now do. Right? So what we do, and this is what I would encourage all of you to do if you have it available, is use something like data-driven attribution. What data-driven attribution does, it's basically doing A/B tests with all the keywords and all the queries you have in your account. And it finds out, without making any assumptions, how people interact with your keywords and which keyword actually has the biggest impact on their buying decision in the end, right? Without like assuming that it's the bathtub model or anything. It's just trying it out, and it's showing you this is the closest you can get to reality using a data-driven attribution model. And that enables you to find if it is there. Like there might be instances where you were optimizing for the global maximum all along here. There might be cases where this is not existing. But for the most part, like for the most customers I've been working with, they discovered that stuff earlier on in the journey works a lot better for them, right? So this enables you to find a global maximum. This is why data-driven attribution is so great. And I'm kind of in love with it. What's a good part about this? Chris was talking about how this is a competitive advantage, and it really is. This is an eMarketer study, I think, eMarketer study from 2016, and what it told is that 81% of, I think, CMOs within the US perceive attribution as one of the most important topics because they understand that it is actually having an impact on their business. The number that's not on this slide is 20%. Because only 20% of these companies actually understand how to do it. They don't have the experts that are able to deal with the complexity. And it's a complex topic, right? So what it tells you that there is a lot of demand and there's a lot of hype around it. A lot of people want to do it, but only a few people can do it. So there is a lot of space for companies that really want to go into it, dig into it, find out what their customer journey is, do data-driven attribution, and then like kick the big guys off the pedestal because you have better data. Right? So there is a huge competitive advantage in this place. And it's a pleasure to see companies going into it, working hard to achieve like a better view on the data and then kind of getting the fruit out of this work. And it actually happens quite quickly. Right? I want to give you a very short rundown on what's next. What's the outlook? What is Google developing at the moment? What's happening in 2018? What's the perspective? And the biggest thing that's coming out, that's actually already kind of available within the GA360 suite is Google Attribution, right? And what it does, it's basically tying all the interactions that were there, all the touch points that your customers might have with your business, it's tying them all to conversions in the end. So we can even attribute upper funnel stuff to the conversion eventually, right? Gone are the days where you're like, oh yeah, we'll do a brand push, but we'll only do it for 20K because we don't know if it actually makes a difference in conversions in the end, because we can now attribute. So the next year is going to be full of very, very exciting product launches from Google, right? This is how it's going to look like. It's going to be a new product that it needs to be linked to GA and to AdWords. And it's going to be the source of conversions. So you won't see analytics as a source of conversions in the end anymore, or the website. You'll see Google Attribution as a source for your conversions. And it enables you to do comparison between attribution models. And it also tells you how the difference looks like. And the best part is it's also directly doing the action part. Right? We can use this data directly to bid differently, to invest differently. So it makes the action part, the acting on the new data, it makes it incredibly easy. Right? This is the action part. This is basically why it's so important to use this new kind of, or this new quality of data to make better investment decisions. What we see after changing to a new attribution model is we see that a lot of conversions go to a different device. As I said, 75% of conversions happen on a different device than the journey started. We can now attribute across these devices. And what we also see is that a lot of conversions shift up the funnel. Right? So we are like in the process of aligning our marketing efforts with the way people actually make decisions. This is what makes me feel very, like it reassures me that what we're doing is actually correct, because we're lining up how people make decisions with how we're investing our money. That's really good to see. And as I said, going into like acting on this data with the help of like a script or with help of an automated solution, whoever that might be, right? We're very open to work with any third party, but we also offer only our own smart bidding algorithms that can take that newly attributed data and make bidding decisions based on it in real time, which is only something we can do. Right? Because we sit on the data, and for you putting in a query and you putting in a query for the same keyword at the same time, there will be different bids. And that's a whole new level of bidding quality, right? And yeah, this is a pure marketing slide. There's a lot of buzzwords on it. Basically, what it says is we have a lot of data, but I think no one really doubts that, right? We're making these bidding decisions based on a lot of data. Clicker, click. All right, this is what I have prepared. This is the main slide. So please take away from this, please care about your measurement, care about your attribution, because it actually has an impact on your business pretty much right away. We made a study with a couple of big clients that are using data-driven attribution now, and we saw that they get about 5% more conversions at the same price just by flipping that switch. Right? When did you get a 5% increase in conversions at the same price by only flipping a switch? So it's actually, it's really nice to see how having a different look at the data has an impact on your business metrics pretty much right away. Right? And then go into automation, whatever level of automation that might be. But please go away from that managing bids and keywords on a daily basis, basically micromanaging your accounts. That's something that is not how it's intended to be used. Right? Perfect. Did any of you put any questions into my self-built form thingy as of now? No. Perfect. Does anyone have any questions around what I was saying? Any arguments why I'm wrong? I'd love to hear them. Yes, please. I hope it's an argument why I'm wrong.
It's not an argument why you're wrong, but it's a bit of a challenge.
Yes, please.
Thank you. So you put a stat on there saying 75% of people use more than one device, which I think a lot of people are familiar with, but it's obviously quite big. So my kind of challenge is, why is Google making it difficult for us to tie up people cross-device? By which I mean you need to identify yourself. Because if somebody's using, say, a mobile to browse and then they go and purchase on a desktop, for example, which I think is common behaviour, especially in retail, the sector I'm in, we can't stitch that up, so we don't know.
Well, we have cross-device conversions. We just migrated them to be, by default, opted into normal conversions. So we have a technique that's in place to be able, that is able to measure that. So I'm not sure I quite understand where your exact challenge is.
Yeah, maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought you could only cross-device match people if they identified themselves with an email address or unique identifier.
So there's two solutions, and thanks for asking that. It's actually a brilliant question. There's two solutions out there. We can use a feature within Google Analytics that's called user ID, right, where people need to be signed in. What we can also do is, if you're using a AdWords conversion tracking tag, is we can use the whole sum of our data that basically gives us a very good idea on how people travel between their devices in the morning at the bus stop and then actually purchasing in the evening. We can, and we did, use all that data to build something that has a very ugly name. It's called a probabilistic device graph. And basically what it does, it takes all that knowledge on how people move between the devices and puts this knowledge on people that are not signed in, basically extrapolating how these people are very likely to behave, right? And that's something that we use for people that are not signed in. So we can also measure the behavior of people that are not signed in, and we can predict basically how they're acting with a very high confidence level. So that's something that works for people.
Is that live now or something?
It is live, yeah.
Okay.
You should go ahead and use it.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure these people are very happy to help you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Just a simple question. Is it
I love them.
I hope so. So is it simple to integrate Google Attribution, not Analytics now, into a CRM tool like Salesforce?
That's something that we're going to do over the course of next year.
Okay.
So that's going to happen. Is it going to be simple? I think that's a very relative statement. Yes, I think from my point of view, it's pretty simple. That might not hold true for other people.
Okay, so it's not possible to do that now?
Well, Google Attribution is not out yet,
Yeah,
so you can't do it
with
now.
analytics, we can do that. We are
In
doing
analytics,
it
you can
already.
do it, yes.
Yeah, but, not
But
get-
you'll be able to do that over the course of next year, yes.
Okay.
Just watch out for the blog. We'll do some announcements, I think, in September around that, about the functionality. But yeah, that's going to be possible.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Anything else? Yes, please.
Apart from digital journey, like
Yeah.
Paris, do you do anything, or are you planning to do anything with offline marketing, like telephone calls or TV advertising, anything integrating offline and online?
Online, offline, how are we integrating this? First of all, we're beta testing something right now that's called store visits, right? Where we use triangulation, we use Wi-Fi, we use probability to detect if people that search for something or that have seen a video are then going into a store to buy something. And we can predict that with very high accuracy. So that's something that we're doing right now. And you would see this data within your AdWords account. So that's something that we're doing right now. Can we track and attribute calls? That's something that's already available, right? So call tracking and then attributing this to the touchpoint, which impact did the call have? That's something that's available. About TV and offline spend, that's something that is available within the Google Analytics 360 suite right now with Attribution 360, right? So you can do the prediction, like how is the normal baseline of conversions, when was my flight, and how did it impact the conversion level? Basically doing a like a survey or a study on how is the impact of my TV. That's something that's available right now, but only in GA360. Right? It's a tough challenge, and it's incredibly hard to measure because someone forgot. Yeah.
Where do you go?
Do you have Attribution 360?
Yes, no attribution, just Google Analytics.
It's something that sits within Attribution 360, but I'm pretty sure we can take it offline and give you a run through. But yeah, like obviously online to offline is incredibly hard, but also incredibly rewarding, especially for retail. Right? I think there was a question back there somewhere. Yes, please.
Yeah, hi. So I got an even simpler question, right?
I love that.
I've spent a fortune with experts, right,
Yeah.
on SEO, PPC, etc. So I just want to know one thing, okay? What is SEO, right? Is it better? Does it work?
That is not a simple question. That is probably a very tough, like the toughest question so far.
I've tried to understand it, and it's cost me a lot of money. So it'd be good to hear that from you. Yeah.
So first of all, disclaimer: I'm working for the PPC side. I'm trying to make money, right? Trying at least. Is it working? Yes. Like there's people out there that are incredibly successful with like tuning their website, making it easier to find, making it faster to load. And all these things have an impact on the ranking, right? I'm not quite sure if that statement helps you. Is it something where you see an immediate impact if you optimize your website? No, like it's gonna take a while. If you spend, like if you only have 10 pounds and you want to have a result as soon as possible, would I invest them into SEO or into PPC? I would probably invest them in PPC because you can basically just utilize the traffic that's already there, build a nice ad that gives the customer a good experience, like with all the site links, with all the extensions, with all the shebang that you could put into them, and you can basically harvest that demand right away. You have a lot more control over what you're showing to people. So that's probably my statement for you right now, right? That being said, I'm not a huge SEO expert, right? I think it's a challenging question that you should discuss this definitely. All right, but sorry, this is a challenging question. Thank you for that. All right, anything else? Yes, please.
Is there an easier way to get visibility into AdWords in the sense, say for example at the moment when I'm working on AdWords, I'm saying these are my
20 keywords that I'm bidding on. If a user types this in, my ad would appear, get onto the landing page, la, la, la.
Yeah.
But the point you're making is it's not just the last final keywords, it's the different stages before that. Is there an easier way to kind of get visibility without even knowing what these keywords are that a user would be typing in?
Very simple. Just put in an attribution model and just bid on the stuff and improve on the stuff that works.
So all I need to do
And
is
it
just...
works, with works, I mean where the conversions come in. Just improve on what does already do a good job, because attribution does all the job for you. It basically just, like, if you had all the conversions in the last click world, you had all the conversions piling up behind your brand keywords and behind your brand campaigns, you'll just see these conversions popping up behind different keywords and behind different campaigns, and you just optimize your ad, make the ad nicer and implement site links and stuff like that. You just optimize as you always optimized, but based on better data. So it's incredibly, just switch, like flip the switch and optimize as you always optimize for the stuff that actually works. It's not hard at all. That's how you do it. Yeah. Anything else? I think I'm incredibly over time already. I'm okay. I'll be there for the coffee break in case you want to ask some more intimate questions. Please go there, give me some feedback, and as I said, ask some questions. Thank you so much for kind of listening on my rant. And yeah, I hope you have a great day for these guys. Thank you.